Hello, my name's Dr. Lucy Mackay and I'm the CEO of a charity called Medics for Rare Diseases. And I'm really excited to be here today to introduce you to the Student Voice Prize. This is an international essay competition that was started by the wonderful charity Find a Cure, and Medics for Rare Diseases and Find a Cure have been producing together for the last several years. This one-of-a-kind essay competition is for students at an undergraduate and master's level, usually in a biosciences type degree. And at Medics for Rare Diseases, we really try to promote it as much as possible to medical students, as they're going to be the doctors of the future. They're going to be diagnosing and managing patients with rare diseases in their clinical practice. And the reason this essay competition is so important is we don't focus it on the biomedical model. We want to have the student participants really learn about the impact of rare diseases in the different subject areas of the questions outlined each year. And in the last few years, we've been able to offer the patient group pairing system, in which we take a participant and we pair them with a patient group who has kindly volunteered to talk to them. And often those patient groups will have people living with rare diseases willing to talk to these students. And it's just amazing to see what the students learn. And we know that this is important because the Department of Health released the new UK Rare Diseases Framework in January. And one of the 4 priorities to be focused on in the next 5 years is awareness amongst healthcare professionals. And year after year, this essay competition demonstrates that if you go to those healthcare professionals in their early years of training, you'll find out they're really not receiving robust education in rare disease. And this essay competition is not only a chance for the individual students to learn about rare disease, but for us to learn from those students about their learning needs in this area. So, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to our winners of the 2020 Student Voice Prize. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Katrina. I'm a 4th year medical student at Barts in the London. So I came across the essay competition, the Student Voice Prize, actually a couple of years ago. We got sent an email around about it. I didn't enter that year because I just wasn't really sure necessarily what rare diseases were about. But it got me interested in sort of thinking about them. And then I got involved in the Rare Diseases Society at university and learned a little bit more about them. And then when I saw the essay come around again this year, I was sort of really inspired to enter and have an experience of speaking to patients with rare diseases. So I met, for my essay, I was put in touch through the partnership patient pairing program, which was really great. And I met 3 patients who have mastocytosis, which is a rare chronic skin condition. It was really great to have the opportunity to speak with them, particularly during COVID times when we don't get to have a lot of conversation with patients, particularly outside of the hospital environment. So that was really great. And the opportunity to speak to multiple patients was particularly valuable because it really highlighted to me the difference in experience that they all had, and that you can't really put patients into a particular box based on their condition or how they each patient is going to be different, particularly in rare disease. So the things I kind of learned from speaking with them was that the importance of listening to patients. They all had a unique story, and they all emphasized to me how frustrating it was when clinicians didn't actually listen to what they were saying, particularly given that rare disease patients are often much more expert than medical professionals themselves. And then we also discussed about the impact of COVID on their conditions. And what that really highlighted to me was that whilst COVID has had a significant impact on all of us and all the patients I spoke to, it's also exacerbated a lot of existing problems which exist in these patients, such as difficulty in accessing drugs, lack of access to information, and uncertainty. So these were all sort of really important, powerful learning points for me. And sort of what I'd like to say to other medical students thinking about entering the essay would be go for it. It's a really valuable learning experience that you won't necessarily get in medical school or elsewhere. And it will really highlight to you the importance of listening to this patient group and changing the way that you approach rare disease patients in the future.
Right, hi everyone who's watching this. My name is Sanjana and I'm a student at St. George's University of London. I'm studying medicine and I'm currently in my third year of medicine, but I took a year off in 2019 to do an integrated BSc in medical genomics at the same university. So how did I hear about this competition? Well, at the beginning of this academic year, a few of my friends really wanted to start Medics for Rare Diseases, student-led society at my university. And they contacted me about being part of the founding committee. And up until that point, I hadn't really heard about Find a Cure or Medics for Rare Diseases and what they did as charities. So I wanted to find out more about their work. And long story short, I was exploring the Medics for Rare Diseases website on the Find a Cure website, and I stumbled upon the Student Voice competition, which seemed like a great opportunity and something that I could really learn from. I looked at the questions, and the questions that were posed for us were quite thought-provoking and really focused on the patient experience. So I thought it'd be very valuable for my own clinical knowledge, as well as developing my future skills as a practitioner. And then just kind of going on to more about what my question was. So my question was, how has the global pandemic affected the clinical research field into rare diseases? And that's the question I answered in my essay. And I was really drawn to this question because during my BSc in medical genomics, I spent a few months doing a lab-based research project where I was using genome sequencing to try and elucidate the causal gene variants. And I really enjoyed doing a project. Even though I didn't get any concrete results, it gave me a perspective into how molecular diagnostics work and a better understanding of genomic research. And I learned about how it's a huge part of rare disease research, and a lot of rare disease patients rely on genetic technology to help lighten the load that is the diagnostic odyssey. And a few challenges have arisen in that field as a consequence of the pandemic, and I talk about them in my essay. So please do have a read if you get the chance. And for anyone who's thinking about taking part in this, I think it's a great opportunity to get involved in an international competition and to also learn about rare diseases. And the questions are really intriguing to answer. And if you're in a degree like medicine or any kind of similar field where the syllabus is very focused on, you learn the common things. This competition is a definite breath of fresh air, and you'll get to become more knowledgeable in a topic that most people don't get the chance to learn enough about.
Hello, my name's Caitlin. I'm a fourth year medical student at the University of Edinburgh. I saw the Student Voice Prize essay competition last year online, and it intrigued me to start off with, I think because it offered the opportunity to get to speak to different patient groups, which I thought would be really valuable, even if I didn't manage to win an essay prize or do well in the essay competition. I still thought I'd learn and gain a lot from the experience of chatting to patients and learning more about their experiences of rare disease. So I felt that was quite unique to the competition. I've not seen anything like that before. Yeah, again, I I think it appealed to me because I quite like the sort of patient contact aspect of medicine, and I find like I learn things better when I speak to people and find out their experiences because I relate it to that particular person. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity for me to just, I guess, learn a little bit more and hopefully have it stick in my brain a bit better by actually speaking to a person. So I ended up being put in contact with the Addison's disease self-help group, which is basically a group of sort of patients and clinicians that work together to educate people about Addison's disease and talk about treatments. And they've got a really good website, so they take you from like start to finish essentially. on your journey of learning about what a diagnosis of Addison's disease means. So basically, Addison's disease is an endocrine disorder in which the adrenal glands don't produce enough steroid hormones. So I'd heard a little bit about it before, but I didn't really know much. And I think my essay really focused on the patient I ended up getting paired with, their journey. So basically how they came to be diagnosed with Addison's disease, what sort of symptoms they had to start off with, and then how that affected their life. I guess it was mainly shaped from actually speaking to them, because I think it was such an interesting sort of conversation. And it was interesting to me how non-specific the presentation was, how many different symptoms there were. And yeah, I don't know if I was a doctor in this scenario trying to diagnose this patient. I think without the knowledge, like I don't know what I would have done, because it was very sort of like a little bit of weight loss, maybe a little bit under the weather, and you were just sort of thinking like, what is this, you know? So yeah, I think the story kind of spoke for itself in a way, and highlighting some of the problems that rare disease patients have when they're trying to get a diagnosis. And yeah, I guess then moving forwards, the patient I spoke to works in the army, so he had to end up quitting that. So just the big impact that it can have on somebody's life too. So in terms of what I really took from it, I guess, is just the knowledge that some of these, I guess it was quite empowering, because I feel like if I saw somebody with some of these non-specific symptoms, I might suspect Addison's disease. And I think that as a clinician, a future clinician, if I make the effort to learn about a few of these presentations, it can really have a big impact on somebody's life, because the time taken to actually get a diagnosis was, well, it's imaginably like really, really hard if you don't know what's wrong with you and you're just going from clinician to clinician trying to search for this diagnosis. So yeah, I guess that kind of would be what I'd say to medical students as well. Like, I mean, I can completely understand why it's sometimes a bit daunting to think about learning about rare diseases, because I guess our course focuses a lot on sort of high yield topics and stuff. But if you learn the basics of, say, the endocrine system, the cardiovascular system, genetics, you can apply that knowledge to rare disease quite easily. And I mean, even just for, if you're doing like one module, one block, just try and learn about one rare disease to go with it. And that kind of makes it a little bit more manageable. And really, if you do make the effort and do that, you could really make a massive difference in somebody's life.
Hello, my name is Molly Bowden. I'm currently in my 4th year of medicine at the University of Edinburgh. I came across the Student Voice Prize through my university, and I was really interested in finding out more. What Find a Cure does in raising awareness of rare diseases is so important, and it is something I personally feel we get very little exposure to in medical school, despite so many people being affected. I particularly love the idea of being paired with somebody with a rare disease, and getting such a unique opportunity to speak with them on a one-to-one basis. I was so fortunate to get paired with a patient with Leigh syndrome, a rare inherited condition resulting from deficiencies or mutations in any mitochondrial respiratory chain complex. She was so open with me about her experiences, both of living with her disease, but also of interactions she had had with the healthcare service. After hearing about her difficulty in getting a diagnosis, and her disjointed and often disappointing and frustrating experiences with healthcare professionals, I decided to explore her experience of the healthcare service in my essay. I learned so much from this experience. Firstly, that those with rare diseases often face difficulty navigating disconnected services across multiple clinics and specialties, which are often miles away from their home. The second is that due to the nature of their disease, they face more barriers in finding people who know anything about their illness or can help them. What I found the most poignant from this experience is the lack of empathy and support that was offered. I think an important message for medical students is that it is crucial to have a good general awareness and understanding of rare diseases, and to listen to patients as they know when something isn't right. Most importantly, we should consider the impact of a patient's disease on them and their ability to access care, and work with them to achieve the best care for them. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Philippa Norman, and I'm the projects coordinator at Find a Cure and manage the Student Voice Prize on behalf of Find a Cure. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of our 2020 winners and everyone who entered the competition in 2020. It really would be nothing without the continued engagement and interest in rare diseases from those who take the time to enter the competition. This year, we saw our highest number of entries ever, a 69% increase on the amount that we had in 2019, which was a great success and something that we were really happy to see. We saw entries from 33 different universities in 11 different countries, and this was the first year that we managed to pair 45 patient groups with students. All of our winning essays were actually written by students that were paired with patient groups, which just goes to show and highlight the impact that we're trying to have by connecting the medical students with the rare disease patient groups. This is something we hope to build on in future years, but we couldn't do it without all of the patient groups who signed up to be paired and signed up to give their time to the students and have those conversations, and also without the students being interested in having those conversations. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that entered the competition in 2020. I hope to see you again next year if you're eligible to enter again. And if you're new to the competition, please enter in autumn 2021 when it opens. You never know what you could learn by daring to think rare.